Today, we're going to talk about a huge, really profound shift in how we think about mental health care. You see, for decades, the whole system was basically focused on one thing: managing symptoms. But a powerful new idea came along, one that asks a much bigger question. What does it mean to actually live a life? So yeah, let's dive into this revolution.
To really get why this change was so badly needed, I want to start with a story. It's a story that just perfectly captures the problem. And it's about a young man named Steve.
So Steve was 27, a college graduate, but his entire life had basically been boiled down to a simple, sterile routine. Follow the rules, take your medication. His dream of becoming a mechanic, that felt completely out of reach. And in the eyes of the system, he was a success story because, hey, he was stable.
And that right there, that is the million-dollar question. When the staff was asked, is this the kind of life you'd want for yourselves? It was like a light bulb went off. They suddenly realized something was deeply wrong. Sure, they were treating his schizophrenia, but they'd completely forgotten about Steve, the person, and his dreams. This one question shook the very foundations of the whole system.
For centuries, a diagnosis like schizophrenia was pretty much seen as a one-way ticket to a life of decline. I mean, practitioners would literally tell people all the things they would never be able to do again. Work, go to school, have a family. The entire focus was on what was wrong with you, not on your potential.
The source material actually gives this cultural baggage a name, mentalism. And what's so important here is that this isn't about blaming individual doctors or staff, not at all. It's a critique of an entire culture, a system that without even meaning to, was putting up roadblocks for people. It became pretty clear that the system didn't just need a few tweaks, it needed a full-blown revolution. And that revolution came. But it didn't come from the clinics or the research labs, not where you might expect. It came from the very people who had lived through the system themselves. And they brought with them a powerful, game-changing concept: recovery. Now, this was a pretty radical idea at the time. It was championed by advocates and people who called themselves psychiatric survivors. Through their own lives, they proved that a full, meaningful life was absolutely possible, way beyond the label of mental patient. They were arguing that the goal isn't just to get rid of an illness, but to figure out how to live a good life with whatever challenges you're facing. Wow, this quote just gets right to the heart of it, doesn't it? It's about that shift from being a passive person getting care to being an active person who has something valuable to give back to the world. It's about finding purpose by helping someone else walk the path you've already walked.
Okay, so to really understand the mechanics of this revolution, the source gives us this fantastic analogy. It pits two completely different models of change against each other, what it calls the couch potato model versus the speeding locomotive model. So, the old system, it ran on that couch potato model. It basically assumed a person was just sitting there, inert, waiting for a push from the outside. The goal was to fix them before they were allowed to get back to their life. But the recovery philosophy? It's built on this speeding locomotive idea. It assumes that everyone is already on a journey. We're all moving toward our own goals. So the clinician's job isn't to start or stop the train. It's to help clear the tracks ahead.
And you can totally see how that old model just led to so much frustration, right? Staff felt like they were constantly pushing and prodding people toward goals that just weren't their own. It was exhausting, and let's be honest, it just didn't work. You can't make someone want something they don't actually want.
And this really gets to the core insight of the new model. People are already living their lives, right now. Insisting they hit pause on everything until they're perfectly cured is just a fundamental mistake. Living, getting a job, making friends, finding a hobby, that stuff isn't what happens after recovery. It is the recovery process itself.
Okay, so if the practitioner isn't the one pushing the train from behind anymore, what's their role? Well, the recovery model completely reimagines them as a guide.
This tour guide metaphor is just so perfect. Think about it. A real tour guide doesn't pick your vacation spot for you, but once you've decided, hey, I want to go to India, they use all their knowledge to help you find the best flights, understand the culture, and avoid the common pitfalls. They're a partner on your journey, not the director of it.
This diagram from the source shows exactly what that partnership looks like in action. On the left side, you've got all the resources, everything from personal experience to professional knowledge. Then, in the middle, you see the person and their guide working together. And on the right, that's the destination, the sites to explore. And notice, these aren't clinical goals, they're real-life goals, like meaningful activities, housing, and social roles. It's about exploring the actual world, not just the inside of a clinic.
So the guide brings this whole toolkit with them on the journey. Yeah, they have professional knowledge, of course. But just as important are things like having a hopeful attitude and being able to spot challenges up ahead. But look what's right there at the top of the list. The person's own experiences and goals. That's the map. That's what directs the entire journey.
So what does all this look like in practice? On a day-to-day basis, how does this actually change the conversations between a person and their provider?
This table just completely reframes the whole conversation. On the left, you see what recovery actually means to a person, making friends, having a routine you like, simple, human stuff. And on the right, you see how the provider's actions line up to directly support those exact goals. It's all about alignment. The provider's job is now to help the person build the life that they find meaningful.
And one of the most powerful tools in this whole new approach is something called the strengths-based assessment. Instead of starting with a checklist of symptoms and problems, the conversation starts with questions about your talents, your accomplishments, your hopes, your dreams. That becomes the foundation for everything else.
And you can see the impact is immediate. This quote from a person in recovery just says it all. The simple act of being asked about your strengths, of being seen as a whole person with potential, well, that can be incredibly healing all by itself. It just changes the entire dynamic from the very first day.
So here's the bottom line. The ultimate goal shifts completely. It's not just about clinical stability anymore, it's about being included in your community, having valued roles like being an employee, a neighbor, a friend, and having real relationships. It's about helping someone become a citizen with all the rights and responsibilities that come with that, not just a lifelong client of the mental health system.
And this revolution in mental health, it isn't just for clinicians. It really leaves all of us with a final thought-provoking question. Because recovery happens out there, in the community. We all have a role to play in building a world that's more supportive and inclusive. It's about all of us helping to clear the tracks so that every single person has a fair shot at reaching their own destination.